Good afternoon, great Oma students. How are you doing? Trust you're doing great. I am Mrs. Sabolade Oluwatoyin, your business studies teacher. And our topic today will be looking into a petty cash book. Our last week topic was on ledger. And I trust that many of you now understand how to prepare that account. Today we'll be taking petty cash book, and you should be able to at the end of this lesson you should be able to define a petty cash book, state its features, and you should be able to prepare a petty cash book. Now, what is a petty cash book? You should know that this is an accounting book used for recording expenses that are small, small expenses. It's not possible for an organization not to run small expenses, during the day. For instance, stationaries, cab fare, money for petrol, money for entertainment of staffs or customers, and so on and so forth. So there's a book that all these expenses ought to be recorded, and that is called a petty cash book. Petty expenses are large in quantity but insignificant in value. The person responsible for disbursing petty cash and recording transaction in a petty cash book is known as a petty cashier. So you should know that we also have a chief cashier that deals with cash book, while the petty cashier deals with the petty cash book. He records all these petty transactions and keep dates and notes of all the details as well. So a petty cash is a small amount of cash kept on site at a business location or office to be spent on minor expenses that I've mentioned earlier. So what are the features of petty cash book? Number one, the amount of cash received from the chief cashier is recorded on the left-hand side column. That is the debit column. You debit the receiver and you credit the giver. I hope you take note of that. Secondly, the payment of petty cash expenses are recorded on the right-hand side because they are given. So you credit the giver. Also, a petty cash book can never show a credit balance because the cash payment never exceeds the cash receipts. Yes, there's a specific cash payment, and the payment can never exceed the receipt is that taken. So also its balances represents unspent petty cash in hand. So if there's a balance, that means the petty cash that was disbursed for the month or for the week was not completely used or totally spent, and that's when you have a balance. And most often you completely spend all the money given for petty cash, given as petty cash. Also, the main cash book and petty cash book are separated from each other. We have the main cash book handled by the chief cashier, while the petty cash book is handled by the petty cashier. And lastly, petty cash book makes cash available for minor expenses. On our next audio visual, we're going to continue with the lesson. Stay tuned.